Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Afroverse. I am your host, William Jones, and Into the Afroverse is where we take Black folks into the future.
Last episode, we started a conversation with Mr. Tim Fielder, and as a reminder, he's an illustrator, concept designer, cartoonist, and animator in Tupelo, Mississippi, and raised in Clarksdale. As you may recall, he describes himself as an Afrofuturist. He's also into pulp entertainment and action films. He's been influenced by a variety of folks like Sam Delaney, Octavia Butler, Pedro Bell, Overton Lloyd, and others. And as you may also recall, he is known for his graphic novel, Infinitum, an Afrofuturist tale, published by HarperCollins Amistad in 2021, and the Glyph Award-winning Maddie's Rocket. And with that, I'd like to welcome back Mr. Tim Fielder. How you doing?
For having me, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate you coming back and doing another episode with us. You know, we were talking the last time, and we talked about your work, but you also raised some interesting points in terms of the future of Afrofuturism and the direction that it's going. And we talked about the ways in which, we want to see this translate into some concrete changes. We're starting to see it, but we want to see more of it. Let me ask you this. I look at you and other folks that are doing the work as architects of the future. What is it that you're trying to build, or what is it that you envision in terms of Black people's future? And what role do you see yourself in playing and bringing that future to life?
Okay, that's a fantastic question. I'll try to answer it in three different ways. The first way is automatic. It's demographics are changing. Mm-hmm. I know folks say, well, it'll be 2050 before people of color are in the majority. Mm-hmm. My personal feeling, I think we're already there.
Right.
I think we're already there. That's a scary thing for some folks. I mean, for you and me, it's fine. But for some folks, that's like living literally in The Walking Dead. They just don't know what to do with that. Right. Now, as it relates to your question, what it means is that a natural occurrence through sheer numbers will naturally generate the content and the consumers for Afrofuturism as a philosophy, as a product, as a book, as a movie, as a podcast, as a dance performance. It's like the more of us are here, the more work gets done. So that's the first aspect of that. Secondly, I, as a my personal ambition as an Afrofuturist, I have about 6 to 10 books that I want to do. I started in the comic book industry in the late 80s, did my 10, 12 years, and by 99, 2000, I was out. And I was in video games and animation and teaching, raising my kids up till about 2008, 2009, 2010. And I went back to school, and I found myself, after doing animation for well over a decade, by 2012, 2013, I'd gone back into comics.
Okay.
So now I would say this year coming up is probably about the 10th year. About 2013 was when I kind of sort of quasi-formally started getting back into it. And I love comics. I just do. It's my first love, and that's what I've always done. But I accept the fact that I'm not going to be a monthly comic guy. More than likely, I won't.
Right.
What I will do is much more like a European graphic novelist, where you release one album a year, or a trade writer in America, where you're releasing one book every year, every other year, right? That's a much faster, that's a much more stable pace for me, because sure, I can work fast, but if I work fast, work's gonna look like crap.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those fully rendered guys. I like to paint my stuff. I want you to feel, when you're looking at a scene for my books, that whether it be fully rendered or fully painted or not, I want you to feel like that world exists. I want you to buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some middle grade books I want to do. As I was saying, Brother Robo is my first middle grade book that I'm doing, about two twins that have a giant robot. And it's in the future, and it's fun, and hopefully we'll get a publisher to pick that up very soon. Maddie's Rocket books 2 and 3 I'm working on. I was very fortunate to have Steph Curry, the 3-point champion, endorse book 1 earlier this year.
That's awesome.
It was. And then, of course, Infinitum, an Afrofuturist tale, has been out. And that's a weird book, but eventually I hope to get to the sequel.
Gotcha.
Of Infinitum, which I do have a sequel in mind, but it was going to take me a few years to get to that. So those things, hopefully I'll be doing some adaptations, but primarily there are quite a few books. Of course, they call them Hawkeye is the name of the book with my cousin Ralph Boston, because his nickname was Hawkeye.
Okay.
So the name of the book is called, they call him Hawkeye. Wow. And I'm looking forward to doing that one as well, very much in the vein of John Lewis's March. Mm-hmm. So yeah, looking forward to that. So that's the second part. Third part, William, man, a lot of things have happened over the last month.
Right.
And I'm saying this for your audience. Midjourney, AI. Are you familiar with Midjourney? Are you familiar with it?
Can you speak to let the audience know about it?
Okay. So for those who don't know, artificial intelligence has been around for many years, but it's really advanced to such an extent now to where you are able to generate images in seconds.
Right.
Literally in seconds, in any style. It can be photoreal. It can look like a scene from Taxi Driver. It can be like Sailor Moon, but blending those with Star Wars, blending those with, I don't know, Alf, the old TV show. You can do anything with it because the AI is just doing it. That has such a potential. No, that's not true. That's not true. That is absolutely going to change our world.
Right.
It's going to alter the geopolitical positioning of entire societies, because it means that as a still image, you can have an absolutely photoreal image of a person who does not exist doing something that they should or should not be doing.
Right.
When you add motion to that, which has already started with Google's AI, and I'm sure there are others out there, once you get it to the point where you can generate a photoreal movie, right?
Right.
That is resolution independent, 8K, and it looks absolutely real, but it's fake, right? That means, oh my God, the political implications of that are just beyond. It's like all of a sudden you can show Vladimir Putin doing something he shouldn't be doing, right? Now, that's on a large level, but then if you pare it down, it means right now at this moment in the still image space, which is comics, fine art, concept design for film, concept design for games, commercial illustration, children's books illustration, graphic novel. It means that this software, I'm going to say this to you, the first public figure I've said it to, AI programs like Midjourney, it can produce work as good as anything I can draw instantaneously.
Wow.
If it sounds like I'm a little at a loss of words, because this is what's been happening between me and my brothers. All of us have been going through this process.
Right.
William, it can do it instantaneously. And I'm good. I know I'm good. I know I'm good. I'm good. I'm really good. There are people who can burn me, but as an artist, it's like I'm not the greatest illustrator in the world, but I'm very, very good. But where I can kind of like pull up the slack is my stories can be good. And if I get the stories and the art really be good, I'm good. But I can't do it fast, man. That's crazy. If I'm going to do something that's photo real, I got to research it. I got to get the reference. I got to make sure I apply the reference. I got to do the underdrawing. Then I got to do the tones. Then and I work digital. So I'm already cutting corners, right?
Right.
This software is doing it in 30 seconds.
Wow.
The only thing it can't do right now is it has an issue with continuity, meaning that it'll have a beautiful image, but the next image it produces, it's almost like it's not using the same geometry. It creates a completely separate image. But how long is that going to go? That's going to be resolved in what? 3 months, 6 months? So I'm saying to you, you write science fiction stories, right?
Right.
Why do you need me then? See what I'm saying?
I see.
There are writers out there who can write better than anybody that would never be published. They could never get a top A-line painter to do their cover or to do their artwork, right?
Right.
There are people out there who could write films. Stories are beautiful. They'll never get a movie deal. Why? No one's going to produce that movie in the old system. Gotcha. AI doesn't care anything about that. It's saying that, William, if you wanted to do an epic science fiction, you can literally get Midjourney, which is like what, $10 a month? right. You pay like is it $20? It's $30 a month. You get unlimited supply, right? Something crazy like that. And this is just Midjourney. I'm not even talking about DALL-E and all the other software programs. Okay, let me try to give the best example. I'm sorry if I seem a little scared.
No, that's quite
I'm
all
trying
right.
to get the people in the audience to understand what's happening, folks. There was a point when man began to ride the horse. Thousands and thousands of years ago. I would imagine apes were riding horses. That's how long horses been around.
Right.
And then somebody eventually said, hey, let's put some fur on here because my butt is sore every time I ride this horse. Right. And that went on for another 10,000 years, right? Until someone said, why don't we put a rug on here? And then that went on for another 10,000 years. Then somebody said, I got this idea for this leather thing called a saddle.
Right.
And they did that. And that continued for another 10,000 years. And it continued and continued and continued for hundreds of thousands of years until the turn of the 20th century. When some fool decided, you know what, man, I'm tired of these horses. I'm tired of feeding them. They die on me. I got to buy a new horse. I wonder if I can eliminate the horse.
Right.
And then they created a car, an automobile. So when they created the automobile, they changed the inherent structure of society.
Right.
And it transcended race. It transcended gender. It transcended all of that, right? AI, as it pertains towards image generation and now soon to be going into moving image generation, has ramifications, dude. Oh my God. It's I can already say it's going to represent the loss of thousands of jobs, if not millions, right? But it's also going to generate just as many jobs because all of a sudden now, that kid who lives in Chicago or that kid who lives in Mississippi who never would get a shot can say, you know what? I got this story about these creatures that come out of the cotton fields, right? That nobody would make in the traditional Hollywood sense, But now, very soon, they'll be able to use software that they'll pay for, or it'll be open source, and they'll be able to generate it on the fly. That
Right.
is crazy. So that is Afrofuturism. When you're giving, it's like I'm trying to think about what I would make it akin to. For us as a community, oh my God, man. It's like Ready Player One with Black
Right.
people.
Right. Right.
That's what it's like. So on one end, I am extraordinarily terrified because it means for the first time in my professional or personal life, I all of a sudden, my skill is, I'm good. Don't get me wrong. But all of a sudden, there's now something that can automatically match it.
Got you.
That's never happened. I've always been able to say, oh, yeah, well, man, I did on paper, but, I moved to digital and I'm learning Photoshop and I know 3ds Max and, I picked up Unreal over the last 2 years. But, not everybody's going to do that because that's hard.
Right.
Mid-journey not hard. Anybody can do it.
Got you.
That's the world we're going into.
Wow. Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about with that response. And if you're just joining us, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, here on WOL 1450 AM 95.9 FM, or you can find us on WOLDCnews.com. And today we're joined by Mr. Tim Fielder. We're talking Afrofuturism. We're talking scary futures. We're also talking about exciting futures. One of the things in terms of, everything you just discussed, what I'm also hearing in this is education, because like you said, with all of this changing technology, one of the things that Black folks have to look at is how are we going to keep up? How are we going to make sure that this young generation, this upcoming generation of Black folks, heck, the ones that are here now, how are we going to, as they always talk about this digital divide, how are we going to close that gap? How are we going to keep up? Because one of the things that we don't want to see happen is us being left behind, us becoming, subject to the will or the whim of the new technology. And the other thing that I'm hearing in your response is responsibility. There's a lot of power in what you just described. There's a lot of potential, and that potential can go in either direction. What do you think in terms of closing that gap, making sure that the young people, and I know a lot of young people are on their computers or on their tablets and so forth, but as far as operating the AI to the degree that you're talking about, how do we make sure that we're keeping up in that way? And also, how do we make sure that these young people coming up, at least in your opinion, these young people coming up also understand the responsibility and the power that comes with it? Because if we're looking at entertainment right now in its current state, I think it's safe to say, or you could argue, that many people don't understand the responsibility that they have when it comes to broadcasting, these images, these words, these sounds, and so forth. So how do we ensure that we're keeping up with the technology, but we're also going to be responsible with handling the power that comes with it?
Okay, so two different questions that are only indirectly connected. The first part, which is the digital divide. I'm going to make this statement because this is my belief. Digital divide is irrelevant now.
Okay.
It's irrelevant because the only people who suffer from the digital divide within the Black community are old people like us. Let's just be frank. Let's be frank.
Right.
My sons, my youngest boy is a writer. He is a lover of fantasy books. He's a nerd, right? The middle guy is a computer program finishing out his last year of college. He is a nerd, right? The oldest is 28. She is a woman who works remotely, right? She works remotely in the corporate sector. They fine.
Got you.
We not fine, but the youngsters are fine. Trust me, they are fine. We have babies coming out of the womb who, before they can actually talk, understand the interface of how to use an iPad.
Right.
They fine. We're not fine, right?
Gotcha.
So we have two. So now let me change it. As older folks, we have two options ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
That either way, the end result will be what it's going to be. It's either we're going to take advantage of the opportunity to learn this technology and to harness it towards whatever means we want, or we're just going to eventually grow old and die, and we'll get the same result. But the youngins going to be fine. Okay, so that's the first part of your question.
Right.
On to the next part of your questions, when you start talking about ethics, that is a very difficult thing.
Gotcha.
But that is not something that in its core is about technology. That is about family. That is about making sure that ethics is taught in our schools and in our families, in our communities. And it means facing very difficult questions and parameters around what it means not just to be Black, but what does it mean to be Black and powerful? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely.
Look, let's not get it twisted. My twin brother Jim, who I don't know if you met Jim, we're filming. We got our films coming out very soon. Horror Film Flow, which premiered at Carnegie Hall Afrofuturism Festival. Black Metropolis, a documentary on my career, which premiered there as well. And then we have our TV show we've done a bunch of episodes for. I'm mentioning that to say that his kids, one of them spends time on Discord, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The other one is the best student in her school, regular public school in Georgia.
Right.
But I'm bringing up the boy. He is 13. And so his ability to utilize technology, that's not into question.
Right.
It's how he's consuming content.
Exactly.
And how, so the only way to overcome that is through proper parenting. Our folks, the old folks, we have to step up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for example, this podcast provides a service, right? Because you and I are now talking about that subject.
Right.
And it disseminates out into the larger public, and there we go. So it is actually harkens back to what I was saying, I guess, in the previous episode where I was talking about the economy of Afrofuturism. It's like our job is to keep producing the content,
right?
Keep producing the ethical analysis of the content. You know what I mean? It's like home training. That's what we got to do. While we produce the content, we actually have to engage in home training. Right. Well, in Motown, they used to call it beauty school.
Yep.
That's what we got to do.
I got you. Yeah, and one of the concerns is, I think in recent times, I think the older generations kind of let go of the reins a little bit and been afraid to deal with the young people. And we've been afraid to engage them and guide them and offer guidance. And I think moving forward, if we're talking about these tools, which are becoming ever so powerful, as you just, illustrated, we have to make sure that when they get a hold of it, that they're going to be responsible with it. And also they're not, once again, going to be subject to the whims of it, because you do want to be in the driver's seat. As you said, you want to be in a position of power to make sure that you're dictating the direction that this goes in. So I really appreciate that. Real quick, we talked about it last episode, but this episode, how can folks find you? How can they get your stuff? You mentioned a couple of movies that you got working, that you have in the works, and some that you presented. The books, how can we get them?
Okay, so I'm gonna keep this real because I want to make one more comment. Everything Diesel Funk, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, website, Diesel Funk. Oh yeah, DIESELFUNK, everybody. Diesel Funk. By Infinitum, by Baddest Rocket. Go to where all fine books are sold. Go to Amazon, wherever you got to do, you'll find it. Buy it. Okay.
Excellent.
Regarding one last thing.
Sure.
You and I, as middle-aged men, well, I know you'll be forever young, but I'm middle-aged, bro. Sorry. But this is a time in which, as a 56-year-old man in the old world, my career, I would have been put out the pasture 15 years ago.
Right.
Technology doesn't care anything about that. One of the things that young creators have to contend with now is now there's an entire generation of older folks who would have been put out to pasture years before that now have access to the same technology and the same venues. And the one thing we have that they don't have is experience.
Wow.
So we're going to be just fine. All we got to do is don't kill each other. Don't blow the planet up. Can make sure you show up to vote. Like, notice how we've been harnessing that political power.
Right.
We've been showing up, which is frightening those people. That's what we keep doing that.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Wow. So I'm ending on an optimistic note, and I'm so glad to hear that. You've given us a lot, and I really appreciate it. This is the type of content you're getting with Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, here on 1450 WOL 95.9 FM, and also WOLDCnews.com, where information is power. I can't say it enough, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us for not just one, but two episodes and sharing your experiences and your insights with our audience. Do you have one final message? Because we're coming up to the close of another episode. You have one final message that you can give us in about 2 minutes.
Sure, man. First of all, thank you for having me, William. I really appreciate it. I think we're, pretty much the same generation coming into here, with this new thing, we're the advanced team that they've sent in, right. That type of thing, So that's the first thing. Regarding a message, I always go back to my tried and true. Whatever you are doing, people in the audience, finish everything. Finishing generates opportunity. When you don't finish, no one knows about it. So you have to finish the content and then deliver it to market. Your market could be a movie screen. It could be an email. It could be a meeting. It could be a job interview. Finish. Because when you finish, things happen.
Wow. I can personally attest to that. Finish what you started. I've come to find that if you don't finish what you started, it's going to finish you. So I really appreciate those words. So one more time, ladies and gents, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, here on WOL 1450 AM, 95.9 FM, where information is power. And we're closing out yet another episode with our dynamic guest. I can't say that enough. Mr. Tim Fielder, you have been awesome today. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing your upcoming work. Looking forward to seeing the films. Real quick, before we go, how can we see the films? Or is it open for people to check out?
Yeah, we began to pitch everything to the studios in December or January. With the intent of Lord, please, having everything on streaming. I cannot wait to see that, either that N or that Amazon symbol in front of it. But we're going to get there, man. We're going to get there. But very soon, you'll be able to see it.
Excellent. And we are looking forward to it. Once again, anytime you want to come back, man, the door is open. So you have an open invitation. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that'll take care of another episode. As always, thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. It's Into the Afroverse with William Jones. Have a good day, and a special shout out to Mr. Duke Productions for producing today's episode. Take care, folks.